Welcome to Women in Leadership Talk, where you'll hear from successful women who are empowering other women with their stories of adversity, resiliency, and success. And here is your host, Vicky Bradley, founder and CEO of Women in Leadership Empowered.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Thanks so much for chiming in today, having a listen to this amazing conversation we're going to have, because we're going to be talking about entrepreneurial spirit and how to bring your purpose to life. So I'm very, very excited. I have Rana. It's two words, Rana Riner, joining me today from Central Arkansas. So Rana, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Vicky. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. And I said that on purpose about your name. So if people are looking you up after this conversation, they know it's two actual words, her first and middle name. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to jump into this conversation, but let me take a minute, welcome our audience. We know you're chiming in from 50 plus countries. So thank you. Thank you for continuing to listen and to support the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. We work really hard to bring you exciting and interesting stories and inspiration. You know, if you're sitting on the borderline of, do I start my own business? Is it time to make a move? What's my passion project? These stories are designed to help give you insight and inspiration and make you think about, like, how can I turn something I'm passionate about into a business? And I think Rana has a great story that she's going to share with us today. And so thanks for chiming in. So let me give you a little bit of background so you know why I invited Rana to come on the show today. So in 1997, she founded her own company called Rana's Children's Consignment. It's events as a clothing swap in her living room for young families to build community brick by brick. Since then, she has grown LCCE into a multi-million-dollar enterprise, which never forgot its core values: motherhood, family, and community. Her mission is to empower thousands of moms by providing affordable, high-quality children's merchandise in a community-driven marketplace. So I love that, Rana, because number one, like, our kids grow out of clothing so fast. And then it's always like, you know, how do you pay this forward? How can you make a little bit of money on it? And good on you. You've turned it into a thriving business. And so I'm excited to talk about, you know, your journey going from mom to CEO of a major national brand. So I'm going to stop talking, let you fill in the blanks and talk us through how you got here.
Well, thank you so much, Vicky. It's a pleasure to join you all today. I, again, was just a stay-at-home mom, was really how it started. And really it started with a financial need. My husband had taken this career jump from the corporate world to nonprofit work. And I found myself as a mom with 3 young children. And really we were struggling to get one paycheck to last till the next paycheck. And I had always loved secondhand clothes. I just loved the thrill of the hunt, and then, you know, and just loved, but there wasn't a great experience for that at the time. It was in the 1990s. And so that's really how it got started. And it really wasn't meant to be a business when I got started either. My family didn't do business. I didn't know anything about business. I have a college degree, but it is not in business. And so it really was just meant to be friends helping friends. And we were going to buy and sell each other's things. And it started in my living room. I just sent out 100 little postcard invitations. And I remember just being so thrilled when 11 moms let me sell their things. And so I tended to be a little bit of a perfectionist. And so I washed and ironed everything. And I rented 3 clothing racks. My husband let me move all the furniture from the living room into our bedroom. And I set up these little racks in our living room and invited people. And actually, Vicky, the first one failed. I wasn't good at marketing. I'm actually an introvert by nature, and I didn't really know anything about marketing. So I called all 11 consigners and I asked them, can I have another week? Can I try again? And I learned I had to invite people to come, and it didn't matter how perfect it was if I didn't put myself out there and really invite people. And so I did it again, and then people came, and that's really how it got started in the very beginning.
I love that. And, you know, it's funny because you said, I'm not a business person or I wasn't a business person.
Yes.
I, just did this because I wanted to help. I wanted other moms. Like, one was to earn some extra income because money was tight, but so often that resides within us and we don't even realize it. And so good for you, because I would say you're a visionary because you actually saw the opportunity of, hey, this is something that I can do that helps others. It helps me. And, as we were talking about in the very beginning, like, children's clothing, one, it's expensive and they don't wear it very long. So, like, how do you repurpose that? Plus, it helps our landfills. So I love that. How, like, when you're a successful entrepreneur, how did you find that? I'm going to call it the center point of work and life, because I don't like the word balance, because people will go, oh, Vicky, that's not realistic, because most people think 50-50. But how did you find that center point so that you could maintain the family along with being a successful entrepreneur?
Well, I like it because there is no perfection. So I love the way that you worded that. I think for me, I just always knew that family was more important than business, no matter how it went. And so it's always a struggle. It's still kind of a struggle to figure out. But I think when you sort of know where you want to end up, it helps you make those decisions as you're going along. And because you lean different directions depending on the season. And I do think that the seasons of life for women change a lot, like I'm sitting in the empty nest season. And so this looks very different than it did when I started almost 30 years ago and I had 3 little ones at home. And so I think if we can have that perspective of just realizing that life tends to shift. And so if we can kind of fit our priorities into those seasons, it just helps us make the right decisions each day. And the truth is, I'm sure that there were seasons when I definitely worked too much. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur, it might sound glamorous, but I remember, there were some years when I was literally working 80 and 100-hour weeks because it's what it took. I mean, honestly, it's not that I really wanted to, but it's just what it took. And I think so you do sometimes have to be willing to do what it takes to stay in business, but then you just know you can't continue at that pace
Yeah.
for a long season, or something's going to give.
Yeah.
Something's going to give. So it
Well
just
said.
depends, I think.
Yeah, no, that's well said. And that perspective of it's a stage, it's a season. Sometimes that's hard to solidify when you're in it, but it's so true. Like, we go through these ups and downs, ebbs and flows in all aspects of our life, whether we have children, we're single, we have, our own businesses, we work for a corporation. There are always going to be these ebbing and flowing that take place. And it's knowing that it's not forever, right? My mom has a great saying, which I like say it all the time now. And sometimes I'll go, oh, Vicky, why are you repeating that? This too shall pass. But it's true. It does eventually pass. So how do you navigate getting to that place? So when you have all these demands that are coming at you and you're trying to grow a national brand, and I think it's franchised, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
So how did you know that point? How did you know I want to franchise this to take a little pressure off of me?
Well, I might speak to something you said first, and then I'll go back to franchising. And when we were first beginning to franchise, and I received this award, and I went to New York City to receive this award, and I heard this woman speak from the stage, and she was so beautiful and so sharp, and I was there to just soak it all up of how I was going to build this business. And I remember her saying, "Okay, in order to grow and scale your business, you need to set a goal, and then you're going to hire and fire and hire and fire and hire and fire until you reach that goal." Well, that sounded terrible to me. Like I want to get to the end of my journey and have relationships, I mean, you're not going to be able to maintain every relationship, but I'm going to do whatever I can to try to keep relationships at the end of this journey, both and so that's one thing that just helped with my perspective. And then you were talking about franchising, and so for me, we did this little model, and we began to realize that women really liked it, and it was growing, and it was kind of taken on a life of its own. In some ways, it was much bigger than me. We just realized there was a need out there. And so my husband, I actually kind of thought he would go back into the corporate world with all the benefits and, but he decided he wanted to stay in this nonprofit work. And so that's when I began to think through kind of long term. I didn't know a ton about franchising, but it felt like this was a model that was duplicatable. And I realized that I loved helping women in business, and I loved mentoring women. And so it sort of just made sense. To be honest, like a lot of us, I didn't know how hard it was going to be, or I didn't really know what I was getting into. And so and we didn't have a lot of money to risk. We didn't hire a consultant or any of that. I just bought a book called Franchising for Dummies. And I would take my kids to the community pool and highlight and just check off the things. Cause I didn't even know if anybody would buy a franchise, but that was sort of kind of my naive end game was like, okay, I need for there to be some residual income. And is this thing duplicatable? But really had no idea the journey that it would take from there.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, and that speaks to the fact that we don't always have to have the answers, but we have to be willing to like get in there and figure it out. Right. And everything is figure outable. So it is, some of that is when fear holds us back and we could tell ourselves stories, which Ray Alana, you
Yes.
could have been saying, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. So I can't do this. But instead you said, okay, I got to figure this out. So how do I make this successful? So now you're all across the US, correct?
We're in about 26 states in the
Okay.
US.
That's pretty darn good. 26
Yeah.
states. You've got half the country covered.
Yeah, we have about 120 franchises. So
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. So when you think about as you've navigated, franchising, starting a business out of your home, like what have been like some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
well, just what you started to touch on is not letting fear hold you back. I've had those same feelings of I'm terrified. But I think I've wanted to reach my goal more than I wanted to stay stuck. And so I thought I'm going to try. And so I do think I have learned that if we'll just step outside of our comfort zone a little bit and just try something new, we actually can do more than we think we can. And I just would love for every woman to have that, and man, but everyone to have that message in their heart. I think especially women, we tend to be probably hard on ourselves and we let fear hold us back. But I learned, I had no idea that I liked business. I didn't know I was any good at it. And so but if you'll just step outside of that little comfort zone, that little thing, and just try some new things, sure, we're going to fail. I actually tried to teach tennis lessons and I was terrible at that. I ran a tennis camp and lost money. At the same time, I was trying to do my little consignment sales, so I was learning. But if you'll just kind of learn and just use that muscle, then gradually you kind of figure out some things where you can be good. You do still have to keep working, but you can discover things about yourself that you never knew. So that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest lessons.
I love that. I love that. There's a great saying I was trying to remember as you were saying that. We often grow through what we go through. And that's so
That's great.
true, right? Because as you're going through it, it feels hard and it feels uncomfortable and icky. And then there's other moments where it feels fantastic and exciting and it's like so fulfilling. But you're growing that whole time. And when you're growing as a person, I mean, that makes us feel good, right? Like, yes, it could be hard. And you were talking about sometimes you were working 80, 100 hours a week. And that feels like, my God, I can't even imagine that. But you kept your eye on the prize of what is actually the end result of what you're trying to accomplish, which is huge.
Yes, we say this a lot with our franchise owners. We say a lot that hard doesn't necessarily mean bad. It just means that it's hard. And so but if you can get through it, then you have discovered these skills and your capacity increases and you have this ability to then maybe do something else hard that you wouldn't have been able to. But if you didn't give yourself a chance, you won't ever have that feeling that comes with that success and accomplishment.
Yeah. No, very true. Very, very true. So, Rialana, when you think about like all the accomplishments that you've had, like what's that one moment that you are most proud of? Like when you think about, wow, I did that. What does that look like?
Well, I probably have two things I would say. I mean, because one is sort of ongoing. I really do love helping women mature and just discover things about themselves. Not only my franchise owners, but I have this incredible corporate team of women who they're professionals and they're growing and they're maturing. And so just watching women grow and become confident. And then, a lot of women are trying to balance family and work. And what does that look like? So that, when I can come along and help women experience fullness in that way, it means a lot to me. And then the other probably big thing is through one part of our journey, we actually ended up battling the government over regulation. It's kind of this long story, but I ended up suing the government. It's terrible, Vicky. You never think you're going to do that, but I had to. My back was against the wall and we battled. We did this battle for about 9 years. We actually made it all the way to the DC Circuit Court of Appeals, which is one step down from the Supreme Court in the US.
Wow.
And I won the first battle, and I was barely above a stay-at-home mom in Arkansas. And so I think I'm proud because I had to learn so much to get there, and
Mm.
I had to grow in confidence. And so that's one of the things that I'm just proud that I didn't give up. It would have been really, really easy to give up, and a lot of people wanted me to give up. And I just think when we look back on our journeys, the hardest battles are the things we end up being so proud of. And I ultimately lost the battle, so it's not that we won and we lost it, but good came from it all the way around. And so I think just the fact that I stayed in the battle and didn't give up, it put my company in a good position to continue winning.
Well, I think that's awesome. And that tenacity that you showed in doing that, that in itself, just the learning from it was a
Hmm.
win,
Yeah.
right? It's tough
Yes.
to go up against the government. Like that's really hard. I just was talking to another woman who's been battling the FDA,
Mm.
and like it's a tough journey, and you don't think about like how difficult that can be, but the lessons that you learn through that really teach you perseverance, resilience, like having the grit to you're standing up for what you believe in. Yeah,
Yeah, and you
amazing.
end up making great relationships along the way too. That's one of the things that I learned. People that you never would have crossed paths with
Mm,
before, who actually, for one thing, you're standing up for a lot of people who are in a similar position. And then you realize there are a lot of people out there that actually want to fight on your behalf and others. So you end up just getting to build really neat relationships at a high level that you never would have before.
wow, love that. And that's great. I mean, that's seeing that glass half full, right? Which we have a choice because you could have felt very differently, and you chose not to. So, when you were thinking about, or when you were setting up the business, were there any businesses that you looked at and said, these are great practices that, I'm going to emulate? And also the reverse, that were there businesses where you said, oh my gosh, I want to make sure I don't do that as I'm navigating this journey?
Well, I came from a stay-at-home mom background, so I didn't have a lot of experience in the business world, but I did love Mary Kay Ash. She was the
Mm,
creator of Mary Kay Cosmetics,
hmm.
and I ended up finding every book I could, or buying every book I could find on Mary Kay, and I read them.
Smart.
And I never wanted to sell anything. Like, I'm not a salesperson. Again, I'm pretty much of an introvert, but she was really a woman who pushed the glass ceiling in a male dominated world. And so I loved everything I could find on her. A lot of the principles that she built her company on, I loved. And I also just, of course, loved Chick-fil-A. And so it was kind of later on as I discovered, but even when people come through our events and they'll say, you guys are just like Chick-fil-A, like we take that as the biggest compliment. If we can have operations and customer service like Chick-fil-A, we feel like that's awesome. Um,
Yes.
so we love it.
Oh, don't blame you. I mean, one of the most successful businesses and franchise operations in North America. My mom, she's an entrepreneur as well. And she would always say, why do these other restaurants not study Chick-fil-A and learn what they do? Because they have a lineup constantly through their drive-through, inside their locations, but their people are incredible. Like the
Incredible.
service you get is just, for fast food, it's incredible what you get.
It's true. And I have to say this. I'm not going to say what company it is, but I was on the road a few weeks ago and I walked into I don't really eat, the older you get, you can't eat as much fast food as you used to, right? But
Yes.
I was in a small town and walked into this fast food restaurant, and literally there was not a person that greeted me. I had to walk up to a machine and figure out how to place an order. And the person that handed me my food, it was just the worst experience. And I thought, for one thing, it makes me feel excited about our events, that we love talking to people eyeball to eyeball. It matters. Customer service matters, and how we communicate with people. And the world doesn't want to just go to robots and automation.
Yeah. No, I'm so with you on that. Rialana, like honestly, like I hate like going through the airport and it's like these kiosks that are basically robots, and it's like, no, I have a question or I want to talk to somebody. I don't know why we think that's okay. I grew up in retail myself, and customer service is everything. That connection, that human to human, I don't think that's ever going to go away as much as some people would like. I don't think that'll ever leave us. And I love who you've studied. I love that Mary Kay, iconic as well. and
Yes.
Chick-fil-A, like great businesses to look at and learn from. And that can help you to be successful. And any that, and we don't have to name names, but any others that stood out as, oh, I just want to make sure my teams and my people don't do this.
Not necessarily. Again, I probably wasn't as studied as I should have been, but I will say this. This was again maybe naive, but when I decided to franchise, I really wanted to think through how could I be generous and
Mm,
how could I help and give back the most. And so with our franchises, we actually have an inverted model of royalties, which is very opposite of any other franchising company. But basically, when our franchise owners, as their businesses grow, they pay a lower percentage back to our corporate office. And I don't know another franchising company who does that. And so I just say it because it's different. And I didn't necessarily say, I'm not going to do that because it's bad. It just made sense to me. And it really came from studying Mary Kay Ash's model, just talking about putting yourself in someone else's position and how would you make them feel. And so what it's done for me is I actually have slimmer margins to work from corporately as we're building out our corporate team, but it's given us a chance to be really generous to our franchise owners. And so because of that, we just have very low turnover because it's built long-term trust and we're not just nickel and diming. And so there's just one thing that's a little bit unique that, it it makes us work harder. We got to watch where every dollar's going, but we don't waste any money
yeah.
because we want to be really smart about where our money goes.
Nice. Nice. I like that. I like that. And that makes everybody happier,
hmm
right?
hmm
And it makes people want to participate and be part of. So what's next for whether it's, the consignment business, your franchise, or something totally different? What's next for Riolana?
Well, the good thing is that children's clothes are never going out of style. So
Mm,
we love the business that we're in, and people have said through the years, what's the next thing are you gonna do resale of wedding things or resale
mm,
of, but we love our niche children's clothes. We just always want to make sure we're connecting with the next generation of mamas
mm,
because they do look different and have different behaviors. So
very true.
we want to keep growing our footprint. Our next big goal is we're at 120 franchises. We'd love to be at 150 franchises. And I just love building out my corporate team here. And I love developing professionals. And we're at a stage of the company where we're really developing out levels of leadership, kind of a maturity of our company. And so I love what I'm doing and want to stay in the saddle and keep doing it and really just growing our footprint and serving mamas in more states, hopefully.
Nice.
And maybe outside of the US, but we'll see. We
I was
actually
going
have
to
thought about,
say, there's a big
yes,
world out here.
I do know. We have thought about coming across the borders. It's got to be the right fit. We have a franchise owner who actually has dual citizenship, and so we've talked about that. So we would love to continue growing and serving families.
Love it, love it, love it. And so, what do you do, Riolana, in your spare time? So, you're an empty nester now. You've got this franchise business rolling. So, what are the ways that you ensure your own well being, your
Mm.
self care? Because I think that's an important conversation for individuals listening, regardless of whether they're entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, corporate employees. That well being and self care is really important.
100%. And I never want to go back to the working 80 hours a week. And I don't want my team to. I have a woman on my team that she was with me in those days. And I don't want that for either of us. And so
Hmm.
I really am working on developing, on building balance for my team. Now, some seasons are busier than others, of course. Well, for myself, I honestly love a good workout. I still think moving your body is good, good for your brain. And so I can't really run as much, but I love to get on my treadmill and walk. And I love to go see my kids and my grandkids. I've got 4 grandkids and one on the way. And so I
Congrats.
thank you. Time with family is just like nothing else. And so, but you're right. I love having balance between work and family because family is what makes work meaningful. It's the why behind what we do. And so I want to make sure that I am building that in for myself as well as my team and giving my franchise owners the vision for that as well. And that's what gives you the ability to sustain for a long period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's leadership too, right? When you place self-care, self-compassion as a priority in your leadership journey, you're modeling that for others, but also that's where innovation comes from, creativity comes from, right? Like, because you give yourself enough space to be able to do so. So, we've got 50 plus countries listening in to our conversation today. So If somebody's sitting on the fence and they're going, I've got this idea, but what advice would you want to give them?
I say go for it. I mean, what is there to lose? I mean, don't risk a bunch of money. I would just kind of put your toe in the water and look out there to see where are the needs. Where do you wish your life was better? Because if you feel that way, there's a need out there, and don't be afraid of failure. We all fail every day. That it's okay. Just try some things. And entrepreneurism is an incredible journey. I love it. I think it's a lot like parenting. You get to pour into and grow and nurture, and then you get to see this thing grow. So it's very rewarding. But you want to be smart about it and surround yourself with people who will speak truth into you. You don't want just an echo chamber. You need to know the hard truth about your strengths and your weaknesses, and you've got to be willing to grow personally. I feel like that's another really strong message that I think, we all need to have some good self-awareness so that we know what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, where do we need to grow, and then go for it. There's a whole world out there that needs entrepreneurs to be discovering new things and leaving a legacy for the next generation.
Yeah, so true, so true. And you're seeing more and more of that. And I love what you were just saying, really having intention about growing. And clearly, I mean, you've talked about that with getting your hands on every possible book you could for Mary Kay and learning from that and studying Chick-fil-A. But there's also an element of knowing when you've sort of plateaued, and who are advisors, or I'm a coach, so I'll say coaches or consultants that can step in and help you, because you can take it so far, but then sometimes you need that second set of eyes that can help you. But I love what you just shared though about going for it, because one day you don't want to wake up and go, oh, I wish I had, or, oh, I had this great idea about children's consignment. Why didn't I do it? Instead, you're talking about, how do I get to 150 franchises, which is phenomenal.
I agree. And I love it that you are helping folks, because we all do need help. And all we know is what we know.
Yes.
And we need help getting to the next step. But then it's so wonderful when the fog kind of clears a little bit and you go, oh, I can see the next thing, but we can only see so far ahead.
Exactly. Love that. So any favorite podcast, books, anything that, you're sinking your teeth into right now that you go, ooh, this is juicy, or ooh, this is really stretching me?
Well, an area where I am definitely being stretched is in AI. So a podcast that I'm listening to that I do like and I recommend is AI Explored, and it's hosted by Mike Stelzner, and he leads Social Media Examiner. It's an incredible marketing community, and I attended their conference this year for the first time. Anyway, highly recommend it. I'm stretching myself and my team, but trying to give us vision, because the world is headed that way, and you got to go. Even if you're kicking and screaming, someone compared it to the internet. If you thought the internet, those people who didn't think the internet was going to change the world, that is how AI is changing the world. And so we need to lean in and figure out how that's applying to our lives and how we can learn it. And so that's probably one of the things I'm doing.
That's actually a great suggestion and fantastic comment. And you're absolutely right. Those who were hesitant, resistant on the internet, this is going way bigger and way faster. And so dabble in it, get to know it, make it your friend. I actually have this conversation often with my kids who are resisting, and I'm going, okay, hang on a second, guys. Like, this is going to come into your careers in every possible way. So you can resist, but you're going to be expected to know how to work with it. And so learn it. You don't have to do crazy things, but just get comfortable with how to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when it's not necessarily going to take jobs, but those who know how to use it and apply it in there are the ones who are going to become the most hireable. So
Absolutely.
and really, we were reviewing that it came out like in November of 2022, and look, is that right? No, 2023, and look where we are already.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so fast. So it is here, and it's staying, and it's just going to get faster. So
yeah,
we would encourage you to spend some time. I actually, last week, we did a podcast release with a woman who AI is her specialty.
Oh, good.
And just, really trying to educate our audiences as much as possible, and baby steps, right? Like, that's fine. Take baby steps and learn about it. So, Rana, anything that we haven't touched on that you think we need to make sure the audience is aware of?
I would just say lean in. I touched a little bit just on personal growth, but just take that seriously, and what are some areas that you can just take a step forward? Maybe it's with communication, or maybe it's with just organization, or whatever it is, just commit yourself. I do think that women can have a tendency to lose their voice,
Mm,
especially, women, we give our life away, and we want to, parents and kids and all the things. But I would just want to just say, carve out that piece of yourself, because you're going to want to get to a point in your life where you've got something that's yours. It's and you kind of got to start and focus on that and nurture it, try some things and figure out what is that place where your skills and your passion all align, because that's where entrepreneurship can really take off, is when you figure out where those things all align.
yeah, love that. Love that. That's a great parting comment. Thank you for that. So, Riolana, where can people find you? If they want to learn about franchise opportunities, they want to pick your brain about, more in detail about how you've created this national brand, where would they locate you?
You can find our website at riolana.com/podcast. And we are actually giving away a free consult with me, whether you're interested in
Oh,
franchising or just taking a next step and just to have a chat about personal growth or entrepreneurship. And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Rana Riner, and all over social media. We're grateful to be able to be with your audience today.
amazing. Well, it's been wonderful having you here. So thank you for joining and sharing your journey and everything that's transpired. I also love how, and I want to highlight this, I love how you talked about you're an introvert and how you have learned to, I won't say become an extrovert, but getting comfortable with how to navigate the world when you are an introvert. And that's not always easy, but introverts are incredible because they're observers. They study, they watch, they're paying attention to what's happening in the room. So if you're an introvert out there, don't be shy and don't hold back because you think, I don't want to talk to people. It's a skill. It's a skill and a muscle to build. So, Rihanna, thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful to you. This has been a great conversation. And we're, thankful that you came on and shared with us today about your journey, your business, and all the great things that you're doing across the country. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Vicki. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks. And audience, thank you for chiming in today. Please do share this episode. If you have somebody in your network that you're saying they've been talking about starting their own business, this would be a great podcast episode for them to listen to and pick up some great tips on how to go about that, how to balance. Balance is not 50-50. Just remember that. Fill that cup up though as much as you can. And we want to make sure if you visit the WIL Empowered website, that's WIL empowered.com, you can take our free leadership quiz, which will give you insight as to how you're showing up as a leader. And again, that's a free leadership quiz for you to take. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know how we're doing. Leave us a review. Let us know what other topics you'd be excited about. But we're grateful that you continue to chime in and listen to the WIL Talk podcast. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you at the next Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Take care. Thank you for joining us for WIL Talk, sponsored by Women in Leadership Empowered. To learn more about our programs, please visit www.willempowered.com. We look forward to seeing you in our community.